All right. I was getting so excited. I was talking all about our topic. I forgot to get recording, but we're talking about the fascia stretches and that the hip flexor stretch could arguably be considered one of the most important. And you guys hear me talk all the time about how people are generally hinged forward at the hip, head forward, and all of the ways that puts us at risk for just chronic pain, chronic low back, et cetera, pain, but also then potential for falling and, having no true balance. And as we enter into winter and the slippery times, I always think about the value of balance and what really creates balance. And I would say it's two really critical things. One is a true core connection, which would include that deep inner thigh line. Like, so when you squeeze the imaginary block, and how that then actually in and of itself often brings us upright. But the second thing I would name is the more upright position, which gets us, first of all, engaged in our back line, which tends to be quite weak on a lot of us and is tight because it's constantly being pulled in the long position. Like if you sit a lot, your hamstrings and glutes are just constantly being pulled in their elongated position, which also means they're not usually ready to go contract when you need them to. They're kind of like, what? This is what we do, right? And so training those muscles to shorten, to contract, to be vibrant, and training an alignment that allows that, which means these have to all stretch. This has to be able to be open. So one little seed I'm going to plant with you're one of those people that often thinks, oh, I've got to get my posture. Oh, I've got to get my shoulders back. I would like you instead to think about getting your butt forward. And of course, I don't mean stand like this or walk like this, right? But if you are walking and you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing that thing. And by the way, one way you'll know that you're walking kind of hinged forward is you'll tend to do more of a flat foot land, which could even make you, like if you're on a gravel driveway like we live on, I'll hear my mom's foot kind of shuffle on the gravel. I'm like, Mom, butt forward. She's like, oh yeah, remind me. And then it's a heel strike. And that's really important for other things other than just our balance and our safety. The heel strike means that we're rolling through the foot in a very particular way that affects actually, I mean, it goes and affects our organs all the way up. When you heel strike and roll, it creates motility for digestion. It uses the calf more vibrantly. You get more mobility, of course, through your foot, less likely to have plantar fasciitis and other stagnation dramas set up in the body. So it's just really fascinating how even one thing going kind of out of alignment or into alignment can so radically affect everything else. And so rather than think about, am my heels straight? Rather than think about, are my shoulders back? Think about butt forward, and a lot of it will probably resolve itself.
One of the best things you ever told me to help with the posture is to get the point of your process here in the belly button closer to the
neck.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that helps in my mind better than
anything else. Yeah. Well, and thank you for saying this. So she's saying that the cue that I gave a long time ago that helped her is that sort of connecting xiphoid process right here, kind of front of the ribs and the low belly, and finding that. And that has been really useful for me too, because I tended to be kind of sway back person, which means then these muscles really can't even work. So it's not until you connect, if you think about shortening that line, that you can feel these muscles then like, boom, now I'm here. The challenge would be to overact, right? We don't want to hyper tuck because now we've lost our arch in our spine and this is all just like, Argh. So it's finding that place where you feel that intelligence, but in a sort of stayed, sustainable way, and where there's liberation in the head and the neck. And often, if you are in your core in a really healthy way, you should be able to feel like your head is just like a weeble wobble up there. Some of you got to feel that feeling last week when we did the scalene stretch, how like loose your head felt up there. So if we are strong down here and here, butt cheeks, thighs again, then there's much less required of the scalenes, the trapezius muscles, to hold us together and or to allow us to push, pull, carry, right? We're not like this. And most people who are coming for massage are complaining about neck and upper back. Very few people complain about the side of the neck, but when you get into it, this is participating. Because anytime your head is a little forward, as we know, SCM and scalenes are engaging, right? So if you struggle with TMJ, for example, this is a participating element. Anyway, I'm kind of all over the board, but really it's, again, it's all connected because what we're talking about is if we don't have our core aligned and our pelvis in the proper position, all these other up and downstream things will suffer. And one of them is our balance. As soon as you're a little bit forward, and I think the number is that if your head is even like half an inch forward or something, it weighs an extra 25 pounds, right? As far as your balance. So if you then, hit a sidewalk that's uneven or whatever, like bam, you're just gone. You're just down. There's no catching. There's no, responding. So that is super valuable. So that's on my mind always this time of year. Also on my mind is just general kind of energetic, what I think of like fluffing the pillow, like making sure that we stay vibrant and spacious and present for all the things, holidays and beloveds that we do value. We want to be present for those versus exhausted and kind of compressed. So those things are on my mind. One of the things that this season I think offers us, because we maybe aren't as inclined to be rushing out the door in the morning to go, garden or whatever it might be, is meditation practice. The dark is a beautiful time. I've got some candles lit here this morning. At home, I will light a candle or incense or both. And I have found that just using a track of music that you get entrained to can be really helpful. So if you need ideas for that, I know I've had people come up after class and say, oh, what was that track you were playing during Shavasana? Find a track of music that you love. If it's 5 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever your time frame is you're trying to achieve, and you can always sit longer, and put that music on. But meditation has the profound ability to heal us, energize us, reorganize us neurologically. It can help stave off brain diseases. It's just profoundly powerful for something that just seems like you're just sitting there doing nothing. It's really incredible. Happy to talk to you more about that too. If you ever have questions or you're just struggling to try and create your own practice, I definitely want to help you get there. I'm gonna just remove what might be, face away from the camera. Because of course this season I'm putting on plenty of lotion. Lord. All right. Did you come with anything specific that you'd like me to integrate and weave into our physical practice? You're just game. Awesome. Let's come on to our back bodies. We're going to start right away with just getting into our breath. We'll be getting into core with our compression expansion breathing, which many of you may know that is one of my favorite ways to wake up a sleepy, non-responsive core. All right. As you're ready, you're just going to start with breath, 3 breaths, sighing, inhaling slow, deep, and wide. Oh, you guys are good. This is your yoga for the day. This moment, this body, this breath. Thank you for being here. Thank yourself for keeping this commitment to yourself. Let's add our 3 points of introversion: inward gaze, light connection, tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, soft ujjayi, that soft throat contraction. Now, ujjayi, kind of wave and wind sound, is a beautiful tool for sweeping the surface of the mind clear and calm. It also helps us tune into the breath. And I'm hoping now you can watch that breath wave rising and settling in the body and notice, when is the inhale complete? When is the exhale complete? Can I find the gap? And we'll do just a few breaths tuning into that gap. Where do you notice fabric moving against your skin? You feel that breath wave, the inhale at its height. Now, where does it travel? I feel it travel all the way up my neck into the base of the skull. Almost like I'm getting a little massage there. As you continue with those focuses, please now add a gentle side to side movement with the head. And inviting freedom and ease in that area that we will then protect and honor throughout our practice, even as we're coming into core engagement and so on. Coming back to center, reach the chin up and back firmly, getting a nice stretch through the front of the neck. If you keep the mouth closed in particular, you'll deepen that stretch. And then bringing the chin in towards the base of the throat. The head stays on the floor. Notice how deep that stretch is for you. Some of you might be feeling the stretch all the way down into that cervical spine and bra strap area. That would be an indicator that you've got quite a lot of tension through that upper spine. Right, then please find what feels like neutral for your neck, and we'll come into our compression and expansion breathing. So compression breathing, of course, vigorous, slow and steady engagement of belly towards spine. Low back into the floor. This is where you might feel that shortening of the front line that we were talking about at the beginning of practice during the Dharma talk. On the inhale, notice how that spinal curve returns. And at the very end of the inhale, ask, is there more? Can I stick in a little extra? Expand. I'm hoping that expansion gives you a beautiful stretch up into the clavicle, the upper backs. Maybe you even feel it in your side of your ribs. As you're compressing each time, think about the low belly right here between the hip bones, drawing in towards the low back. These muscles and then the pelvic floor, add that, are key for supporting these low vertebrae. And we're never done giving that part of our back help and what it needs. So this is actually one of the tools I use, I would say at least a few times a week. I do compression expansion breathing. And for those of you who have been kind of rushing around and stressed in any way, hurry, worry, your breath has probably been shallower and shorter than it should be. This is a great way to reclaim that true diaphragmatic breath that says, I am whole, I am well, I am safe. And you can affirm that by rolling that head side to side, staying loose and soft in the mouth, face, neck, shoulders. Power, your center. We're going to do a few more, and I want to invite you to add even more powerful engagement to your muscular body with rock pose. So you're still engaging and anchoring through the low back, but then adding a tightening of butt cheeks, thighs, fists, arms into the sides. Please make sure that the shoulder heads are down and back. They're not hunching forward. We've been talking over the last few weeks, in fact, about power and peace, working with warrior. You know, what is it like to be super strong and also relaxed into the pose? This is another one you get to practice, staying relaxed in the neck. Or maybe in order to get there, you need to engage more deeply. Maybe you want to shrug the shoulders one time high up by your ears, add a line and stretch like you're screaming. Whew, and then feel the freedom that is perhaps new as you let go. So interesting, you know, sometimes we work so hard relaxing and we can't. What we need to do is tighten. Oh, the next time you're inhaling, inviting you to sweep arms overhead and just begin organically stretching and moving, just like, oh, maybe you're yawning. I don't know, all the things. Enjoy. Sometimes I feel like I need to just groan. Ooh, yeah. And if you would, we're going to clasp the left hand with the left wrist, excuse me, with the right hand and draw long upon it. And first, just notice what that gives you in your side body. Then I'm going to have you soften that a little bit just so you're not in your full stretch, but keep a hold. Cross your left ankle onto your right ankle and deepen that stretch again. Breathe and notice. You can let the head roll. And then as you're ready, unwind and just lay flat a moment and notice if you've got an area of some tingling, renewed circulation. And then we'll clasp the left hand onto right wrist. And first, just again, stretch that upper body. Notice what's there. Love up the shoulder. And then when you're ready, cross that right ankle and deepen the pull again. Deep, deep breath. And release. We're going to bring both feet into happy baby, both legs into happy baby. You might hold behind the knees at the blade of the foot, big toe, using a strap. Wherever you are, I want to make sure that, again, we're attending to the peace in that upper shoulder girdle neck area. Shoulder heads are down. So if you're needing to create power with the arms, remember, we actually want to use the lat muscle side body. No wings, no shrugs. See if you can tilt your tailbone down towards the floor. Notice if that changes your stretch, and then send the biggest breath of your day down into your pelvic girdle. What would feel good to you after this? You know, the best yoga class is when you're listening to your body, right? So it might be bringing your feet into happy baby and doing a windshield wiper. It might be bringing your hands behind the knees to do half straddle. Absolutely one of my favorites. I think especially if you're tight in the hamstrings, IT bands, and hips, being able to play with straightening the knee completely when you're not standing on it has particular value. And you get to really notice, you know, where's the resistance? We really need those legs to be more equal, inner, outer, front, back, artery groups, muscle groups. Yeah. We're going to then bring our feet flat for bridge pose. Go ahead and add that block if you've got one. Otherwise, you might imagine one. Feet directly below the knees. And as you're ready, anchor your upper arms. Nice long inhale, exhale, rise up to your bridge. Vigorous squeeze of the block. Hello, inner thighs. Inhaling, descend one rib at a time. We'll do it twice more like this in this slow fashion. If you're feeling pressure in your neck, lift your chin up and back a little bit. It's interesting, I often teach bridge, as I was just saying, with the chin up and back so that the neck isn't pulled on. But one part of traditionally of bridge pose is if you clamp your chin downward towards your throat, bridge pose will actually help stimulate your thyroid. So if you're hypothyroid, low thyroid, that can be a useful technique. All right, the next time your hips are down, please bring your arms overhead. If you want, you can have them in prayer, you can let them come apart. And then exhaling, raise the hips and anchor the upper arms. We're going to do that a few times quickly. Inhale, big breath. Exhale, belly to spine. Empty and power up. Good. And again, inhale, extend. Exhaling, anchor and raise legs. One more like that. Nice. Knees to belly. If you'd like, you can keep the block there. We're coming into spinal twist. So you can just set the whole lower body to the left I'm gonna use my left hand on top of the thighs and open that right arm. Now, one of my favorite, just very organic movements in spinal twist is to bend my arm 90 degrees and circle it. I'm just gonna take it all the way across the body and behind. Ah, it's a great way to wake up all the connections around the shoulder joint without putting stress on it. And then opening that arm straight. You might also point and flex through the hand. You might begin that sweeping up towards the head as if you were reaching the wall behind your head, along the hip line there. Oh, would it feel good to straighten your top leg out into your waiting hand? If you're doing that, I like propping the elbow so the arm is not literally holding. Yeah. And again, what is it like to try and straighten the knee here? Some of us will feel some pull, perhaps in kind of the IT band hamstring connections. Maybe yours is in the calf. Some people are massaging up into that glute and piriformis. Yeah. Take one more big breath again. Maybe this is the biggest breath of the day. And then bend the knees again. And as you're ready, come to the other side. You can do it very gently, like one knee at a time, or a nice core one to bring the whole thing over to the other side. So in general, having the knees about straight forward to the hips is going to be your best alignment. Try it. If that isn't your best alignment, change it. All right. What would it feel like to start circling that arm? Again, I would keep both knees bent for this period of time. When our knees are bent and engaged in the thighs like this, with or without the block between, it creates stability for the low spine. And so we're much more able to explore releasing tension through the upper spine and shoulder girdle. And at some point, opening that arm behind, maybe you're pointing and flexing, maybe you're looking behind. Often I will continue to kind of move my head where I'll rotate it away from the hand, especially if you've got that hand flexed, you'll get a little nerve flossing there. Now, if you'd like to explore, maybe opening that top leg out into your supporting hand. This is kind of a reclined version of a standing pose that can be done quite intense, as you can imagine, both balance and tension. So just, yeah, feel that. Just know, oh, that's my side body. It's real. I just don't get in contact with it very often. You know, when you are ready, go ahead and bring both knees back to center. Release the block if you're still using it. We're going to raise up to bridge and do a foot hover, right? So raise the hips. Imagine you've got the block between the thighs and just lift one foot a little at a time, or one foot a little off the floor, one at a time. Sometimes I'll place my hands on the hip bones just to help me be more aware of, like, am I dropping one hip? What's happening here? And if it just feels like way too hard, try bringing your feet closer together. But my hope is you're feeling deep work through the glutes, the thigh, the standing leg. Notice if you are compensating with your neck, if you're tightening with your shoulder and neck area to anchor. Good, coming slowly down, please extend your left leg, right knee in for release wind pose. This is also one of my favorite poses, getting to know our own lines of tension. So if your knee is raised up, that is an indicator that we've definitely got some work to be done here. I want you to see if you can contract your quadricep down and flex out through your heel until that knee goes click. And then reaching away with that left heel while you pull your right knee in more tightly. One more deep breath. And let's switch. Notice too, if you tend to get pulled out to the side a little bit of that knee that you're holding, if that happens, that tells us you've got a little bit of torque in the spine and the rotation. There's one part of you is much tighter than another on one side. And releasing, so both legs are on the floor in corpse pose. Abdominal pumping, inhaling as if it's all you'd ever do. Big, beautiful inhale. Exhale, empty. With the breath held out, do that beautiful pumping motion, fast or slow. We'll do a couple. I'm always struck by abdominal pumping, how profound it can be. I often will feel stretches and connections here in the sternum. Might feel it again back in that cervical spine. Hearing some nice ujjayi. When you're done with one cycle, please go to the next. And again, notice if you want to adjust the pacing at all. Speeding, slowing, what would feel good. It's amazing how music affects us, isn't it? Like this, something about this ECU is just like, just relax, right? But I want us to kind of do a little more energy, so I'm gonna just change things up just a little bit. So as you're ready, bring your knees into your belly, nice deep hug. We're coming into our little mini baby robot movement that can help ignite intelligence in that low belly that we were talking about. I will tell you consistently, I hear from people that underdoing it is where they ended up feeling sore the next day. So if you would, at least indulge me in underdoing it the first round, if you want to do more after that. So knees to belly all the way for now. I've got my hands clasping on the shins, feet flexed. With my knees parallel but not touching. My first act is to anchor the low back. Take a deep inhale. On the exhale, keeping that low back anchored, send your knees away from you until they arrive above the hip joints. Breathe there and notice the challenges. So you're trying to breathe while using your core, right? We don't always do that. A lot of us hold our breath when we're using our core. So just this alone might be a useful technique for you. See if you can engage your pelvic floor like you're cutting off the flow of urine. Take one more inhale. Exhale, make sure that back is anchored. Take one knee a few inches away from you and hold and breathe. When you're ready, switch, explore the other side. A few inches away and breathe. And what I want you to notice before we go bigger, any of us, is are you experiencing any subtle release of the back ribs, the lower ribs? Are they lifting off the floor at all, or at least not anchoring as deeply as they should? That's huge. When you feel like you've got a clear sight on all of that, if you want to go bigger, then fine. Now keep in mind, you always keep the knee bent 90. So you're not straightening the knee ever. But the further you take it is more like the heel ultimately might connect with the floor. And then you come back, but you're frozen at that 90-degree knee jump. Now, notice what happens as you go further. Again, are those ribs lifting? Is your low back lifting or pelvis tilting at all? Because if so, then you're losing the focus and work that you want. And at any point, of course, take a break. And then if you're ready, at some point, you might take one knee away and the opposite arm reaching above the head. And then hold and anchor deeply through the back body. That's the move that will get me feeling like I did 1,000 sit-ups the next day. It's the holding, scanning the back, using all that powerhouse of the front, boom, to stay anchored. And of course, soft through the neck. Getting some good out there? Yay! If you're not, let me know. Something to watch for when we start adding arms is sometimes then people habitually let the knee come towards them. And that's counterbalancing in a way that you don't want. You're making it so the muscles we're trying to work don't have to. So make sure that stationary knee is staying stationary. Let's Now, keep in mind. So if you're doing arms, it's one arm at a time. You're moving the opposite arm of the leg that's moving, okay? And then the other arm and the other knee opposites are staying stationary. The stationary arm, I usually just leave straight up, and I didn't say that, but I usually start with both arms above my chest like I'm holding a loaf of bread towards the ceiling. And remember, you want to keep your arms straight. You are not trying to touch the floor. You're trying to touch the wall behind you. Yeah. And if you don't need a break yet, you're doing it wrong. No, I'm serious. You're compensating, like, because like I've had triathletes who need a break after that long. And so it's just, that's part of the game. It's why we call it discombobulated robot. It's very easy to have not, to have your limbs go places. You're like, hey, I didn't tell you. I didn't say do that. When you're done, give yourself a break and notice what that means. Maybe you need knees to belly. Maybe you need another bridge to open up the front body. Who knows? We're going to be coming up to standing. So take your time. Come on up. I'm wanting to find some ways to discover each of us, like what's going on in our body, and to really wake up our glute muscles. And the hip flexor stretch that Ming Chu has in his book is amazing, but does require being down on a knee. And I think I want to check it out this morning, but I want to give us a standing investigation first. So if you would just kind of come into your mountain stance. By the way, if balance is any kind of an issue, feel free to go, use a wall or what have you. But I'm going to just have you take your left foot back, kind of on the ball of the foot, and you're going to bend the knee. Obviously, if that hurts your knee, then just do less. But I want you to feel stable right here. So I'm on the ball of the back foot. You should feel like, again, you could carry something if you had to. So you're not too far forward. Your torso is straight up and down. Okay. Then I'm going to have you hyper squeeze your left butt cheek. Right. And that is going to create a little stretch through the front of that left hip. You guys feel that? Good. So I'm going to just put my hand on my left butt cheek to be like, hey, I'm talking to you. I want you to see if by poking around and thinking about it, you can get it more contracted. Get it more contracted. Then think about as if you wanted to drag your foot forward. Don't move it. Just think about it. And then if you can, add your left arm reaching up. And then going a little to the right with the body and the arm just a little. And rotating a little right. Keep that butt squeeze and see if you can find a little more stretch through that side and front. And then relax it. What do you think? Feel that knee? You feel knee, up the front knee. Okay, let's see what happens on this one. One thing to think about when you're stepping back with your other foot. So now left foot is forward, back foot is back. I think like you might need a bigger stance. You're kind of here. I would give yourself a bigger stance if you can. Make sure the front knee does not come forward to the heel at all. And that's the thing for warriors and all of that. It's a stressful position for the knee. So that front knee is directly over the heel. I'm going to keep my hands on my hips for a moment. And now I'm going to dip my knee, hyper tuck, fire up my right butt cheek, talking to you, poke, poke, boom, boom, hello. And see if you can get even more fire up, more fire up. When and if you feel ready, you'll add a reach through that right arm. A little bit leaning to the left. Keep reaching long. I don't want to collapse in the ribs. And then I'm going to rotate a little left. And keep reaching up. So make sure you're not leaning forward. You'll lose that front line stretch. Keep firing up that right butt cheek. Talking to it. Talking to it. Hi, butt. Yeah, after I did his stretch, my butt hurt so bad. The next day, and I was like, those are the weak butt muscles that my massage therapist keeps telling me about. He's like, I don't think your butt's firing completely. That's why you're having. And firing is a weird word if you're not in the industry, shall we say. A muscle, when a muscle fires, it activates, right? Fire my butt. All right. So hopefully that felt good. Let's give a stretch to the back line. I like using my block to support a little bit of the body weight. You can also use elbow on thighs. Big inhale. And exhale and fold. Start to use your core to ignite like a compression expansion breathing. We would like our knees bent so we can safely receive a stretch. See if you can let the head go with gravity. All right. On your inhale, sit to chair, drop that butt down. I'd like to have you look down and notice, are your knees in alignment with your feet? If not, make it so. Good. And then we're just gonna go a little low, only as low as again as your knees will allow. And then up. And what I'd like you to notice, because you could be doing this up here, you could be pulsing up here. I'm gonna go down a little and up a little, right? Maybe you're doing it down here. So chair or bar stool. What I want you to notice is, are you feeling the low butt cheek at all? If not, you may have your tailbone tilted out, okay? And that is a classic thing. Like I said, I generally have had a stance that's that way. So I want us right here to feel that short and front line we were talking about between the pubic bone and the xiphoid process. Again, I'm not hyper tucking into the cat, but I'm feeling that engagement. All right, inhale, root and rise. Squeeze all the muscles of the thigh towards the bone. Squeeze the butt cheeks. Push the earth away. Keep pushing and reaching. And then release. All right. So I'm going to invite us to recreate that standing version. Anybody who wants to very briefly, and I say briefly because I didn't set it up for us to all have a support, some pad under our knee. We don't have enough for everybody in this room, but I'm going to show it to you, and anyone who wants to explore it and see if like, well, I might try that at home, right? So if you would like, you're either standing and you're going to come back with your left foot, you're going to dip that knee, etc., or you're going to come down onto the left knee, okay? And again, no pressure. If you got plenty out of the standing version and you don't like being on your knee, then do the standing version. So again, both versions, we are gonna fire that butt cheek forward. I'm gonna take my arms forward, palms facing, fingertips reaching down, and you can do this in standing as well if you would like. And then I'm going to just let my right hand come down on my knee and tilt a little right. It's the same thing if you're standing, you're just tilting a little right. Then you're going to rotate a little right and keep reaching and firing that glute. Reaching through the arm, tucking that chin back if you're craning. Breathe and notice. Is there any part of your butt cheek not firing? And then relax it. And everybody will switch to the other side. So the way he does this is he has you engage for 20 seconds, relax for 10, and do 30 on the same side. I'm not doing that just for I guess efficiency's sake, so I'm not here all day doing the same exercise, but I want to do it enough for you to kind of get a sense of like, oh yeah, my body needs that, right? All right, when you are ready, fire up that right glute, extend the arms. Gonna tilt a little left and rotate a little left. Reach, I'm gonna let my left hand come down onto my thigh, just settling there, keeping reaching long. Keep firing up that glute. I have to tell myself that over and over again. Fire up that glute, fire up that glute. And that's when I can start to feel like an opening happen in my hip flexor. That's where I can start to feel things really evolve, is when I get that glute engaged. All right, release. Let's all come into downward facing dog, friends. When you're ready, plant those hands, step back, and pedaling. Now, this is a great opportunity to discover how tight or flexible am I in that back line. So I feel like my Achilles tendon and calf will allow mobility. Even if your heel doesn't get to the floor, that's not really the key necessarily. It's more, can you feel movement versus it just kind of going to like something immobile. And let's take those feet out wide into bear pose. Nice deep knee bend. Again, pedaling one heel at a time, pressing towards the floor. And when you're ready, hold with one heel towards the floor, the other knee bend. Big breath. Other heel towards the floor, big breath. Awesome. I'm gonna bring my right foot forward in a lunge. Nice and wide, so I've got the outside edge of the mat. I'm gonna inhale and rotate open through that right arm. Now, what I don't want is these hips hanging. This would give a stretch that's kind of unstable and unsupported. So make sure that you're not feeling a pull in the left hip. I don't want to feel that at the front where we were just stretching. Inhale, open, and then bringing that hand back down. This is important. You're going to need a compression exhale, belly to spine. Think about lowering like you want to kiss the floor, but belly's drawing up. And soften it, and then big inhale, do it again. I will tell you that if your feet are not far enough apart and your butt is way in the air, this is not going to feel great. You're probably going to feel tension behind your right thigh and knee. And that's a great indicator. You need to see if you can get more distance between the feet. Whew. All right, when you're ready, send that foot back, downward facing dog. Invitation for a little upward dog, forward dog to just mobilize front back body. If that is too much, remember, just drop knees down. You can do a nice knee down upward dog. Arms are straight, shoulders down, neck liberated. Beautiful. Let's do that twice more. Enjoy breathing into that beautiful open front and then exhaling high up power. Belly to spine, use that low robot belly. Love it. When you're ready, we're gonna bring that left foot forward, outside of the mat. If it doesn't go as far forward as you think you'd like, grab it with your hand around the ankle. I learned this from some of you all. I was like, that's a brilliant treatment, it works. Now, make sure that you are powering up through your right thigh. Your back thigh is powering up. That'll keep you from swagging and hurting and overstretching. Go ahead and open that left arm and rotate to the ceiling and come out. Go ahead and do that a couple times. Now, please make sure that you're not winging your head and chest back. That's really common in this pose. I'd like you to see if you can find a straight line from your heel to your crown. Yeah, looking good. You guys are doing such lovely little micro adjustments. When you're ready to bring hands back and we'll do our little kissing the earth, kind of pretending we're going to. Make sure that your power is power enough as you are intentionally letting the torso and the face move towards the earth. Maybe find something really good you want to just hold in that stretch and take a breath. Should have offered that on the other side. All right, and come on. Lovely. Invitation to do something like we just did, or cow cat, or full dog series. If you're doing full dog series, I really recommend knees down for that first one here. Inhaling plank. Remember, belly is drawing up and away. If you're flagging, you're not in a strong spot. Go ahead and bend those elbows. Try to run down. Kiss the earth. Inhaling cobra, or if you'd like, turn it into upward facing dog. Belly and breath take you back. All right. If you are tired of being on your hands for any reason, you could do this on forearms, but we're going to take the right leg wide. And you're going to want to go and look underneath you, get the toes facing straight down, heel flexed. You could also do this in table if you would like. Both of them will work. What I'm trying to do is fire up that right butt cheek. So you're going to pump your leg a little up and a little down using the right glute. Again, make sure your toes are not rotating out because you'll be using probably a part of the glute muscles and complex that are already habituated to working hard. On your next time you're extending up as high as you can with your leg, big inhale. Exhale, bring that right foot through to a lunge again. We're going to do that same opening you did a moment ago. So foot is wide, that hip high. Inhale, rotate open. Exhale, return the hand. Hold. Listen here, look carefully, because you're going to walk your right foot over towards your left hand. This requires core stability to be safe. If you don't feel safe doing this, you could do a pigeon pose instead. We're going to let the right knee tilt down and lean towards the floor. So I'm coming on the blade of my right foot. You got it. You say hello to a stretch. Yeah, Nice big breath. And release. Lovely. Your choice to hold, rest, or flow if you would like. Just a couple of breaths anywhere that feels right to you. And then we'll return to either table or downward dog with that left leg flying. And really important to get those toes pointed downward, heel flexed. And tune into the butt, like only you can do it. I can't tell. I can't tell if it's firing well or not. I will tell you that really elongating your leg will help. So making sure your knee isn't bent, that your heel is really flexed. And then maybe you just hold somewhere. But it's really good. Yeah. And then a big inhale, raise it higher. Exhale, belly to spine, bring it forward into your lunge. Good. And first, nice core support. We're just going to rotate open. By the way, you should be so core supported here that you do not need your right hand. Yep, that means your thighs are working, your butt's working, your belly's working. Gorgeous. Then bring that hand on down. Walk your foot towards the right hand, coming onto the blade of the foot. Make sure your hands are right below your shoulders. If your hands are forward, you are not going to feel super stable here. And again, if this just doesn't feel right at all in your world, just adjust that leg down and come into your pigeon or onto your back and pigeon alternate. Yeah. When you're ready, nice core support and breath, so important. Come on out and notice where you'd like to rest. Maybe it's on your belly, maybe it's child pose. I knew we had to create a little warmth today. See, we don't have to fear winter. We are the heat. I do want to bring us into one more front body stretch, which is the quad stretch essentially. But the version, as many of you know, that I've been kind of enamored with, I feel like I can really get into more hip flexor and I'm using my glute. So it's almost like a reclined or floor version of the hip flexors we were doing. And that is, for me, to be on my side. You can grab a pillow or block under your head if you want, or just use your arm. Having the floor leg a little bit bent in front versus straight gives me the stability to, once I get a hold of my ankle and I start my stretch, I can come into quite a good back, almost like a back bend, sending my butt cheeks forward, my hips forward, bringing my knee progressively behind me. And again, you're going to only do as much as your knee and everything else you want. Try not to let the knee be higher than the hip. That can tend to compress the spine, the low back, but also you might want to stretch that we're going for. And what would it be like to bring your knee back and your hips forward? Some socks. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for exploring. Yeah, you know, so much of getting the goods in yoga is an exploration attitude, right? A willingness to be curious and go, what happens if I lower just a little? Ooh, what happens if I soften and I take a bigger inhale and then I deepen and stretch again? Right? What happens if I let my shoulder blade wing in toward the spine more and let that broadening of the stretch come through the chest? Yum, yum. And how do I want to release and create the other side? Roll to the belly and then to the other side. Always, of course, letting me know if like something's hurting, you can't figure out how not to have it hurt, whatever it might be. I want to hear from you, of course. So, yeah. Reminder, keep the foot flexed. Toes, yoga toes. I know sometimes you can't flex the foot because of where you're holding at the ankle. In which case just make sure you flare your yoga toes. So even if you're not fully flexing through the feet, we don't want a floppy foot. Again, that intelligence travels all the way up and down the leg. Again, try sending your hips forward of your knees and shoulders. So if you can create a little curve with the body, the knee moving back, the hips and heart kind of moving forward with that. And again, up to that butt cheek. Yeah. And of course, talk to your deep, deep breath. Oh, and when you're ready, come on out onto the belly, perhaps. Might feel good to windshield wiper the leg side. I just notice. Okay, we are going to return to standing for one last thing. I know it feels like this is a natural denouement, right? You're ready to be like, no, if you don't mind, maybe go to downward dog, however you want to transition, come back up. We're going to come into our straddle. And I'm sorry to say that the amazing snow globe event we had is softening, so not as much interesting to look at, but let's face that way. In your straddle, go as wide as you can without obviously any pain in ankles, knees, etc. And then we're going to turn our right foot 90. We did this a couple weeks ago, and we're going to explore our warrior lunge. And first, just with hands on hips. We want to make sure we are in the most stable, wonderful alignment. So the back foot is staying completely anchored, and I'm pushing into it. That's important for the stability of the back knee. So push into the floor, send your hips forward, check that your right knee is tracking with your foot. If it's to the inside, you need to squeeze your right butt cheek and get those legs to externally rotate. And what the heck, go ahead and fire up that butt cheek right now. Hi, butt. All right. See if you can go a little deeper. Maybe you need to scooch your feet more, or maybe you just need to allow the hips. Yeah, and I love having my hands on my hips when I'm this deep, because I'm like, okay, now I can help myself out. So as you're ready to come back up, neutral the feet, rotate the left foot 90. And the torso, in theory, during warrior two, stays as if, like, if you just took a photo of me, I would look like I was standing. Okay, I'm not leaning, I'm not hinging, I'm not doing anything funky. I am peaceful, tailbone to crown like a little puppet. And I'm going to make sure I'm towering down and back through that back leg. And I'm going to see maybe a little deeper. What would that feel like? What's happening? Is my left glute working for me? And then release back to neutral. Go ahead and walk those feet in a little bit, or whatever's easiest for you for an exit plan. Roll out ankles. All right. We're just going to come to what I call kind of an athletic stance. We're just going to do our little hip pump. So I'm going to bring the hips back and forward, and I'm going to squeeze those glutes on the forward. Release back, big glute squeeze. This, I remind you, is a great thing to do. Like if you get out of the car, you know, you're on a car trip or whatever, or you've just been sitting a lot that day, to refire the glutes, to say, this is how we hold Andrea, Julie, Denise, etc. together, right? That glute squeeze. And if we want, we can just add a little. I was talking about some of the energy challenges this time of year. If you want to go a little wider with the feet, you can. That can be nice. It's just sending those arms straight out, shoulder heads down, palms are actively open. And if you can, once again, do that inner gaze, light connection to the tongue. Think about anchoring through the whole foot and reaching through all the fingers. Breathing into this beautiful space of the view. Again, we'd love to feel powerful and peaceful. Present, but non-stressed. So again, making sure that mouth is spacious and soft. Maybe you add the softest little smile. And slowly releasing. And then back, roll out ankles, and we're gonna do one last little love up here. So like last week, when we did all the neck stretches, we did the collar. So I'm gonna invite that again. Because anytime we create like liquidity or ease through that base of the skull, it can really, really transform, I mean, again, things like TMJ, but our mood, how we sleep, and certainly how we walk. So if I think about trying to get somewhere fast, I almost always like engage there. So I call it the I've got a muscles. So I want you to practice making these the I've got a muscles. I gotta get there. Right? And meanwhile, you're smiling, your face is soft, and you're free, and you're moving and swinging your arms because this is the girdle. This is the powerhouse. So when you're walking out today over what might be some slippery areas, etc., don't walk that fast. But be in your powerhouse and just notice what that's like. And I hope you end up feeling just awesome all day and hopefully throughout the week. Please come into whatever resting shape you would like. We've been doing some like up against the wall stuff lately. If that appeals, right, you could take your mat or even without, you can scoot your legs up the wall. You can also sit up against the wall if you are like, hey, I want to take this chance to do a little seated meditation with support. That can be pretty lovely. Great time to add back layers. Good call, good call. I remind you that yoga, the word in Sanskrit, means to yoke or unite together. So it really is about a wholeness practice, mind, body, spirit, all of it. And I thank you so much for coming to the mat and giving your body this level of attention and igniting this level of intelligence. What I offer is this, that when we find that in the body, I think our mind spirit self is calmer, more joyful and radiant. So if you've been suffering with some chronic body pain, and it can be kind of depressing, etc., know that that's completely normal, right? Like it's very difficult to struggle in the body and not have it affect those other parts of our being. So this is a nice time to just have a little compassion for self about that. But then as you're laying here in your resting time, to notice as you're breathing, by choosing that deeper, wider breath, front body, side body, back body, you are affirming wholeness and goodness and peace. Even while we might be dealing with some challenges, we can keep finding these sweet spots that allow us to center and heal. You might imagine that gravity is getting just a little bit heavier, riding down, down, down. Just deepen the breath slowly. And before you choose to return to the flow of life, this is a really sweet moment where you have more integration, more introversion. It's a great time to set intention and to get to know something that's going on in your body. If you're seeking more understanding, what is knowable? Maybe observe which exercises of today really spoke to some part of your body in a way that you feel could be important and useful. Maybe one or two things that you might repeat a couple times before we're together next week would be most helpful. Please be good to yourselves and move from your deep harnessed center core body. Have fun with it. Always so grateful for you. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace. Namaste. See you soon.